Hi everyone, welcome to back the channel. Autorush. The service provides an opportunity to voice any of your texts, including articles, reports, separate chapters or entire book in a sequence. Sure, here's a 3,000-word YouTube video script, roughly 18 minutes long when spoken, about 2025. The T-72 is a family for your Reverend Ride channel. This script takes a storytelling documentary approach, focusing on the legacy, evolution, and modernization of the T-72 tank up to 2025, all centered around the idea of the T-72 as a family. In the world of armored warfare, few names hold the weight, the history, and the impact of the T-72. Since it rolled off the production lines in the early 1970s, the T-72 has become much more than just a tank. It has become a symbol, a workhorse, and above all, a family spanning decades, generations, and continents. And in 2025, this family is still growing, still fighting, and still evolving. To understand why the T-72 is still relevant today, we need to go way back into the early days of Cold War tensions. In the aftermath of World War II, as the Iron Curtain descended across Europe, the Soviet Union recognized the need for a new generation of main battle tanks and machines that could be mass-produced, survive in nuclear environments, and outgun Western adversaries. The T-55 and T-62 laid the groundwork, but they were stepping stones to something bigger. In 1967, Soviet engineers began work on what would eventually become the T-72. Drawing lessons from the T-64, the T-72 was designed with reliability, simplicity, and ruggedness in mind. Unlike its more complex cousin, the T-72 could be built faster and cheaper. And it didn't skimp on firepower either. Equipped with a 125mm smoothbore gun and an autoloader, it could pack a punch while reducing crew size from 4 to 3. This made the tank smaller, faster to train, and harder to hit. By 1973, the T-72 entered service, and from there, the legend began. Through the Cold War, it served as the backbone of the Soviet armored forces. But what made the T-72 stand out wasn't just its domestic role. It was its global footprint. From Warsaw Pact allies in Eastern Europe to export customers across the Middle East, Africa, and Asia, the T-72 became ubiquitous. It was a tank not bound by borders, a machine adapted by dozens of countries to suit their own doctrines and battlefields. That's where the idea of the T-72 being a family really begins, because unlike many other tanks that exist in a single, rigid configuration, the T-72 became a platform base upon which nations could build, upgrade, and personalize. The result, a sprawling, diverse lineage of T-72 variants, each with its own character, design tweaks, and battlefield stories. Let's take a moment to appreciate just how widespread the T-72 family is. You've got the original Soviet models like the T-72A, T-72B, and T-72B3. Then there are the export versions, India's Aja, Iraq's Lion of Babylon, Iran's T-72Z, Poland's PT-91 Wardy, and more. Each one tells a different story. Each one evolved from a common ancestor, and as of 2025, many of them are still in active service. But how does a tank designed in the 1970s stay relevant in the era of drones, eye-guided munitions, and network-centric warfare? The answer lies in modernization. And in 2025, the T-72 family is undergoing a remarkable transformation. Let's look at Russia first. The Russian military, despite developing newer tanks like the T-90 and the T-14 Armata, continues to rely on upgraded T-72s. The most prominent of those is the T-72B3, a heavily modernized variant introduced in the mid-2010s and continuously upgraded through the 2020s. The 2025 version of the B3M features an improved fire control system, advanced thermal sights, relic explosive reactive armor, and a new V92S2F engine pushing 1,130 horsepower. But perhaps even more interesting are the budget-focused upgrades. The Russian Ministry of Defense has taken older T-72Bs from storage and upgraded them cost-effectively, swapping optics, radios, and adding modular armor. These tanks may not be cutting edge, but they're effective, and for a country looking to maintain vast armored reserves, it's a smart strategy. Beyond Russia, the modernization game is even more dynamic. Take India, for instance. The Indian Army has over 2,000 T-72 minutes 1 second, locally known as Aegis. While the Arjun and T-90 Bhishma programs aim to replace them, India has invested in upgrades as thermal sights, GPS navigation, night fighting capabilities, and new era packages. In 2025, a portion of the T-72 fleet has been converted into armored engineer reconnaissance vehicles, bridging tanks, and mobile launchers for tactical missiles. Rather than scrap them, India has repurposed AMA, adding new branches to the T-72 family tree. In Eastern Europe, Poland's PT-91 program is a prime example of what can happen when a nation takes the T-72 and makes it its own. With better fire control, new autoloaders, Irawa armor, and improved mobility, the PT-91 became a respectable platform in its own right. And now, in 2025, several PT-91s have been further upgraded with NATO standard communication systems and battlefield networking capabilities, bringing Cold War iron into the digital age. In Ukraine, necessity has driven innovation. T-72s captured from Russian forces have been repaired, retrofitted, and thrown back into battle. Local industries have added drone detection systems, cage armor against loitering munitions, and electronic warfare capabilities. It's not about having the best tank on paper, it's about having a tank that works, that survives, that fights. In the Middle East, countries like Iraq, Iran, and Syria continue to operate T-72 variants, some dating back to the 1980s. In 2025, many of these have undergone rudimentary but effective upgrades. Thermal scopes, makeshift armor kits, and integration with local labs. In a region where terrain, tactics, and threats vary wildly, the T-72 remains a flexible platform. Then there are the lesser-known members of the familiar countries like Angola, Ethiopia, and Vietnam is still using T-72s for border defense and internal security. These aren't tanks for show, they're tanks that train, patrol, and maintain deterrence. And then we come to something truly fascinating: how the T-72 is inspiring entirely new vehicles. In Egypt, local defense companies are using T-72 hulls to build recovery vehicles and armored personnel carriers. In Serbia, modified T-72 chassis are being used for mobile artillery systems. In Belarus, old T-72s have been converted into unmanned ground vehicles for mine-clearing operations. In essence, the T-72 has evolved beyond being a tank. It's a toolkit, a foundation, a legacy system that nations can bend, twist, and shape into whatever they need. Of course, the critics are quick to point out the T-72's flaws, and yes, it has them. The autoloader design, while space-saving, has been known to cook off if the turret is penetrated, leading to catastrophic turret ejection. The armor, though upgraded, still lags behind Western tanks like the M1A2 Abrams or Leopard 2A7, and the situational awareness for the crew, even in newer variants, remains limited compared to modern digital tanks with 360-degree battlefield visualization. But that's only part of this story, because while a brand new Western tank might cost $8 to $10 million per unit, a modernized T-72 can be built or upgraded for a fraction of that, sometimes under $1 million. And in conflicts where quantity matters as much as quality, the T-72 makes strategic sense. There's also a psychological dimension. In many parts of the world, the sight of a T-72 rolling down a road sends a message of power, of continuity, of resilience. In some armies, it's the most advanced piece of hardware available. In others, it's a living link to history. By 2025, the T-72 has entered its sixth decade of service, and remarkably, there's no sign of it fading away. If anything, the opposite is happening. New retrofit programs, new battlefield roles, and new export deals have given it a second, even third life. And with AI-based fire control systems and drone integrations on the horizon, the T-72 family might just see a seventh. That brings us to a crucial point: how does a tank become a family? It's not just about variants or designations. It's about adaptability. It's about shared DNA and different destinies. The T-72 has spawned generations of tanks, from the T-80 and T-90 to various local spin-offs, each influenced by their parent. And even today, countries choosing to upgrade the T-72 are effectively continuing a family lineage, not replacing it. It's also about stories. Every T-72 in service today has a history. Some have rolled through deserts, others have patrolled frozen borders, some have seen combat, others have stood as silent sentinels. But they all carry the same core design, the same silhouette, the same lineage. In museums, you'll find pristine examples of early T-72, some olive green, clean, untouched. On battlefields, you'll find battered veterans with scorched armor and field-modified gear. Both are part of the same story. And the people, from Soviet crews in the 1970s to Ukrainian tankers in 2025, the men and women who have operated the T-72 are part of that family too. They've trained in it, fought in it, repaired it, cursed it, and survived because of it. In a world obsessed with the next big thing, the T-72 is a reminder of something else: longevity, adaptability, and quiet strength. It may not win beauty contests, it may not top every spec sheet, but it works, it adapts, it endures. So here we Area 2025. The T-72 is still here, still serving, still evolving. It has outlasted empires, seen wars rise and fall, and reinvented itself time and again. Not just a tank, a legacy, a platform, a family. And that's a story still being written. Would you like the script formatted for teleprompter or converted to include timestamps for better video editing flow? More than 30,000 characters at a time. The name of the MP3 file is formed from the first 20 characters of the text. Save the generated MP3 file to your device for storing and future use offline. Please select language and voice. Adjustable speed, pitch and pauses between sentences and paragraphs. Replace this text with yours.